It's not the original trilogy, it's the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Michelin. Sounds like the fucking tire brand. Hello, this is Mario Jade, and I'm back with another video, and the spin cycle is continuing with Rings of Power, with the media defending the bastardization of Lord of the Rings book covers with promotional pictures from the Rings of Power series. Not only that, with our own little shill twist. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go into this article so you can get a gauge of what the media is, again, up to when it comes to running interference for the Amazon show Rings of Power. It is not Lord of the Rings. I don't want to ever fucking hear it referred to that because it is in no way connected to that trilogy. But anyway, let's just dive into this, shall we? The upcoming Amazon Prime Video original, The Rings of Power, original in the sense because it's in no way at all connected to anything Tolkien wrote, but whatever, is changing the original trilogy, Lord of the Rings trilogy, Michelin. And some fans are trying to raise their voices to stop it from happening. Of course, when we say the series is changing the Lord of the Rings trilogy, we're not talking about Peter Jackson's films or J.R. Tolkien's original text, but the book covers. For some Tolkien fans, that's a bridge too far. You want a cookie for being creative? A group of fans have organized an attempt to stop HarperCollins from doing something that's fairly customary. Print new editions of the books with new covers that tie in with the new media adaptations. The publisher's site advertises that new editions of The Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King were released on July 5th with covers that use promotional art from Amazon's Rings of Power, along with a box set including all 3 volumes to be released September 13th. The angered fans responded with a petition on change.org, started by a user calling himself the Tolkien Fan. The petition demands that all the Amazon tie-in covers be discontinued entirely, that all ebook covers of The Lord of the Rings with Rings of Power iconography immediately be restored, and are likewise discontinued, that all printing of the Amazon tie-in covers cease entirely, and that all future promotional material or iconography for the Rings of Power remain entirely separate and never be used on or in the published texts of The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, or related works such as The Silmarillion and The History of Middle-earth. You know those texts that the showrunners for The Rings of Power lied to fans about, saying that they were adapting works such as The Silmarillion and so forth because they were depicting the Second Age. Remember that little bald-faced lie that they peddled to fans, Tolkien fandom, for months? And they still are going with that little spiel about how it's an adaptation of Tolkien's works? You can see one of the new editions covers below. I'm not going to bother. So far, things don't look great for the Lord of the Rings fans hoping to purge the world of the Amazon series tie-in covers as of Thursday, August 4th, almost a full month after booksellers began selling the editions in question. The petition has only gathered a little over 4,500 signatures. That's clearly not enough to change the course of a major book publisher that's already sunk tons of resources into a book-selling strategy. I, for one, would like to see how well those books are selling and will be selling, pretty much. Because, granted, I don't believe necessarily in signing petitions because really what speaks volumes to entities like Amazon is speaking with your wallet. Don't give the show any clicks. That's what resonates with them. Signing petitions on change.org really doesn't. Otherwise, the sequel trilogy that Disney regurgitated out for Star Wars some years prior would have been erased from canon by now, if that shit worked. But at the same time, I really want to see how well they're selling. Because they're using this as, look, it's not working. It's not working. But I want to see the facts and figures, pretty much. I want to see all that before you, Michelin, claim that none of what's going on is making any difference. That's clearly not enough to change the course of a major publisher that's already sunk tons of resources into a book-selling strategy, blah, blah, blah. Not to mention that HarperCollins is not doing something particularly bizarre here. They're using a popular screen adaptation to help move units by taking covers from the media in question. If she's talking about Rings of Power, how can she claim it's a popular screen adaptation when it hasn't even been fucking released yet? It's something publishers have done for decades, and one might argue the only strange thing about the situation is that someone would think Tolkien's work is somehow exempt. We didn't really like it when it was being done with the other book covers, but there's a reason why we don't like it now, and I'll get into that near the end of this article. Some Lord of the Rings fans have been attacking Rings of Power for a while now, particularly loud, as reported by The Hollywood Reporter, with the revelation that certain elf and dwarf characters in the series would be portrayed by people of color. Now, here's where they're saying we're racist without overtly saying that people criticizing it are racist, pretty much. Passionate Tolkien fans have argued it isn't racist to point out that the writer did not describe his elves and dwarves as being people of color. Yes, it's not racist, because it's literally worded in the text how they are supposed to look. But then, here's how the media spins it. But it does beg the question of why it is more objectionable to add that kind of creative license to a fantasy adaptation than to portray characters of races which literally do not exist and never have existed. No fucking shit, Sherlock, these races have never existed. We fucking know that. But again, they are described in the text. They're described in the text. So how about this, Micheline? How about this? We remake Roots and have an all-white cast. How about that? It's an adaptation. These characters have never fucking existed. No matter how they're described, they never fucking existed, but let's just all-white cast, all-Asian cast, all-Latino cast. Would you like that? Would you like that, Micheline? That may come off as dismissive or just as an easy play of the race card. It fucking does, you dumbass bitch. But it may be enlightening to consider why the Rings of Power vitriol is so much worse than it was for Jackson's Lord of the Rings or Hobbit adaptations. Because, while, in particular, the Hobbit adaptation was mediocre at best, it was still an adaptation of a work. Of a genuine work. Interestingly, on the online petition, the author uses a quote from J.R.R. Tolkien's son Christopher, may he rest in peace, in which he said, Tolkien has become a monster devoured by his own popularity and absorbed by the absurdity of our time. Of course, Christopher Tolkien was not referring to Rings of Power, as reported at the end of his passing in 2020. The quote is from 2012, the same year Hobbit An Unexpected Journey hit theaters. Did these Tolkien fans likewise petition for covers tying into the Jackson films be purged? And if not, why not? What's so different this time? Well, what's different this time, Micheline, and here's where I'm going to give my 2 cents on this. What's different this time is, well, yes, like I said, we had our issues with, or at least some had our issues with, book covers depicting scenes from the films themselves rather than the original artwork and so forth for the text. The difference this time, you fucking dumbass, is that the Rings of Power is not at all an adaptation of anything Tolkien has written. The only access they have rights to is the appendices and footnotes. They don't have rights to the Silmarillion. They don't have rights to Unfinished Tales. They don't have rights to the history of Middle-earth, which would have been the genuine history of the Second Age, which they would have depicted in the show. They had no fucking rights to it. They have no rights to it. They can't adapt anything from those books. So they're taking the footnotes and appendices, and in their words, telling the story Tolkien never wrote. That's why we have a fucking problem with this, sweetheart. That's why we have a problem with these book covers. It's because they in no way at all connect to anything Tolkien penned. They are not Tolkien. The characters from his canon are in name only, and then Amazon had the audacity to add new characters, non-canonical characters that never fucking existed in his canon. That's why we have a fucking problem. That's why. So you combine all that with the narcissism of Jeff Bezos wanting to have his own version of Game of Thrones and bastardizing Tolkien's work to do so. That's why we have a fucking problem, Micheline. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Are you going to get any of the books published with the Rings of Power covers? Yes or no? Why or why not? Let me know all that stuff down in the comments. Do you agree with this author? Do you disagree with her? Again, let me know. I will be live on Twitch later on this evening. My Twitch is Jade_Fire. I'm going to be attempting Naraka. I almost pronounced it Nakara. Naraka Blade Point. The Japanese samurai-ish battle royale. So, I already tried my hand at Destiny 2. I love Destiny 2, and now I'm going to try my hand at this. So, tune in for that about 7:30 p.m. Eastern or so. I'll be live, again, Twitch, Jade_Fire. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. Share on social media if you will. This is Mara Jade. catch you on the dark side, and we got the real Sauron here.